probably already know that pronunciation is very important for your IELTS speaking score. In fact, it's worth 25% of your overall score. Pronunciation includes many things, like saying the right sounds of a word, such as this instead of zis. But today we're going to look at the aspects called word stress and intonation. Tell me about your family. Well, first of all, I should say that my father is a very important man. In this scenario, the candidate has made a small change in word stress that has resulted in a very, very big change in meaning. Instead of saying important, he has said impotent. These words are completely different. Although in most cases, a small mistake with intonation or word stress does not lead to confusion, in some cases it can actually be a big problem. The previous example of important and impotent is one such case. Here we have changed the meaning of the word in the listener's ear by putting emphasis on the wrong syllable. When we speak, there are subtle differences in the sounds of a word that we may miss. In these words, the R sound in important may not be obvious. In fact, if we miss it but get the word stress correct, the listener can still understand us. He is an important man. Likewise, the final vowel sounds, ant and ent, are hard to distinguish. If you said he is an important man, you would still be understood. As you can see then, it is really important to get this correct. Aside from isolated examples like this, how important is word stress really? Well, actually it is quite important in daily English. We really need to get our word stress correct when we're talking about numbers. The difference between 15 and 50, 17 and 70, for example, relies heavily on stressing the right part of the word. In daily English, it is essential to be able to differentiate between numbers. One really helpful tip for understanding numbers is listening for word stress. What number do you think I am trying to say here? 50. Let me say that again for you. 50. The answer, of course, is B. When you say these numbers, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or 80, you should stress the first syllables. When you say 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, you should stress the second of the two syllables. Knowing this makes it very easy to understand numbers when you're listening, but it is also helpful for you as a speaker because getting it wrong can lead to misunderstandings. What did you like doing when you were a teenager? When I was 16, I was on the school basketball team. My friends and I. As you can see, word stress is very important when it comes to numbers, and even a small change can make a big difference. Here is another example. Photograph. What do we call a person who takes a photograph? We call this person a photographer. Photographer. If you want to refer to taking photos as a hobby, you can say, I like photography. Photography. Notice how the word stress here has changed. From stressing the first syllable, we're now stressing the second. It would sound really weird to put the stress on a different syllable. And what are your hobbies? Right now, I really love photography. You know, like taking pictures. I also love travel. I've always been interested in geography. There are many related words in English that have a totally different stress pattern, and this often confuses people. In the previous example, the candidate tried to say photography and geography. Both words end in G-R-A-P-H-Y, graphy. This is a big clue to the pronunciation. With this suffix, we stress the syllable immediately before it. Practice with me. Biography, choreography, iconography, pornography, topography. Sometimes in English we have two words that are spelled the same, but which have different meanings. To differentiate between them, we stress different parts of the word. When you want to say the verb form, you should stress the second syllable. Contract, detail, export, object, present, protest, refuse, suspect. When you want to say the noun, you should stress the first. Contract, detail, export, object, present, protest, refuse, suspect. Let's practice. The police suspect the man of hiding something. The man is a prime suspect in the case. To be honest, if you make a mistake in this sort of situation, it would not lead to a big misunderstanding. It just sounds a little weird. What sort of things make you feel embarrassed? Well, some social situations make me a little uncomfortable. Like, for example, last week someone gave me a present and I didn't know what to say. Oh, okay, yeah, I see. Most of the time, word stress will not really change the meaning of what you say, but rather correct stress will make you easier to understand and will make the listener more engaged in what you say. It gives clues to the meanings that may be unclear from the actual words used. For example, we often stress a particular word in a sentence to make it seem more important than the others. In fact, various words in a sentence could be chosen to completely change the meaning of that sentence. If we stress I, it emphasizes who is looking, not someone else, but I. I have been looking for you for 20 minutes. If we stress have, it suggests that the other person doubts us. Imagine they said, "You haven't been looking for me." You might reply, "I have been looking for you for 20 minutes." To stress looking shows that the action is the most important part. I have been looking for you for 20 minutes. To stress you puts the emphasis on the other person. You were not looking for someone else. I have been looking for you for 20 minutes. You could also stress 20 minutes to show that time was an important factor. I have been looking for you for 20 minutes. You can also see from my reading of that sentence that intonation and stress indicate my emotion. The way that we read a sentence, which is partly due to intonation, highlights how we feel, which sends more information to the listener. We could read this sentence in different ways, completely changing its meaning. We could sound curious. Where were you last night? I was looking all over. Worried. Where were you last night? I was looking all over. Or even angry. Where were you last night? I was looking all over. Finally, as you can probably tell, intonation makes your speech more interesting, informative, and all around easier to understand. When you speak flatly, you can sound sort of like a robot. It is not impossible to understand a robot, but also it is not easy to know its exact meaning. Imagine you received this text message. How does the sender feel? Are they angry? Curious? We don't know, because it's a text message. These days, a lot of arguments are triggered by such messages. With speech, however, we have a great opportunity to communicate more accurately. When we try to say something, our intonation should match the meaning of what we want to say. If we are telling a positive story, we should try to sound enthusiastic. If we are giving direct information, we should sound informative. If we're asking a question, we should use the appropriate tone for that question type. What sort of music do you like? Huh? I mean, what sort of music do you like? Oh, right. I like jazz. Remember that how you say something can be just as important as what you say. Without correct intonation and word stress, your meaning can be lost, and your listener will not understand exactly what you tried to say. As such, when you're preparing for your IELTS speaking test, you should think about word stress and the intonation of your speech so that you can convey your meaning exactly as intended. If you follow this guide, your English speaking skills will improve and you'll have a much better chance of a high score in your next IELTS test.